Yeah! Oh, hell. Banana Slammer! Hell yeah. Howdy do, folks. Welcome to the Game Reserve. My name is Jagger Newman, and I'm Warren these parts. And tonight we are playing Donkey Kong Country. Joining me tonight is, of course, my good friend Steffi, the MLG Panda. You with me, Steffi?
I'm here. Hello, everyone. How are you doing, Jagger?
I'm doing all right. And in case you guys are wondering why we're playing Donkey Kong Country this week, it's because we are a week away from the release of the Nintendo Switch and Donkey Kong Bonanza. I am so excited to play that game, so I thought we should go ahead and cover Donkey Kong Country. So,
wow, you must really be excited for Bonanza, Jagger. But
oh, hell.
you know that Bonanza, we still got another month to wait, right?
Wait, what?
Bonanza comes out next month. Well, in July.
It's not launching with the Switch 2? It's
no,
not launching
man,
with the
did
Switch
you forget?
2. Oh well, we're still going to play Donkey Kong Country anyway. So, what do you know about this game, Steffi?
I'm super excited that you asked me to join the stream tonight because I have very fond memories of playing this game in my childhood. This was one of the games that me and my brother would play together a lot. And it's just stuck with me for all these years.
But what about on the development side of things? Know anything about that?
Not a whole lot, to be honest. But that's
well,
where you come in, right?
Yeah, and I've got quite a story to tell with this game. So, in 81, when the first Donkey Kong came out, it was just an enormous hit. It started a video game dynasty for Nintendo. It was the first game by Shigeru Miyamoto. It was another big deal for Gunpei Yokoi. Nintendo merchandised the hell out of it, and there were also lots of sequels to the game as well, with Donkey Kong Jr. and a spin-off in the form of Mario Bros. However, the series sort of hit a snag with the third game in the series, which was Donkey Kong 3. While far from a bad game, Nintendo's choice to release it as a conversion cabinet as opposed to a standalone arcade machine really hurt sales, and it also didn't help that it came in right during the time of the infamous video game crash of '83. So, not too long after that, though, Nintendo would put out the Nintendo Entertainment System, which did gangbusters at retail and revitalized the video game industry in North America. However, the game that really stole the show was Super Mario Bros. And because of that, Donkey Kong ended up being left in the past. So Nintendo moved forward with Mario and Zelda, and Donkey Kong just sort of disappeared into the jungle. Over in Europe, however, there was a studio that was really making waves in the European video game market on a little home computer called the ZX Spectrum. They were called Ultimate Play the Games, but they would eventually come to be known as Rareware. And even in the days of the ZX Spectrum, they were doing some really impressive things. This game, for instance, Night Lore, was the first game to use a isometric 3D environment, which was a big deal. And, Rare was known for their tremendous output at the time, too. However, while things were profitable on the ZX Spectrum, they didn't see much of a future on the console, so they started making plans to move development to the Nintendo Entertainment System. They went to Nintendo asking for a development kit, but because of the high demand for Nintendo games at the time, Rare was actually turned down. Undeterred, however, Rare would import a Nintendo Entertainment System and they would actually reverse engineer it to build their own development kit, even managing to defeat the famous NES lockout chip, which was a tremendous feat in those days. For reference, Atari was trying to do the same thing, and they couldn't do it without stealing a copy of the NES's lockout code. So, because they beat the lockout chip, Rare actually could have started making their own games for the NES, completely independent of Nintendo, and they would have been perfectly within their rights to do so. However, they decided to play ball, and they took their games to Nintendo, and whether because they were so impressed with Rare's technical acumen, or because they were afraid that they would sell their findings to Atari, they gave Rare unlimited publishing rights for the Nintendo, which was a condition that even big companies like Atari were not granted. So Rare just started churning out games for the NES, and while they had a lot of, games on the console, very few were of any real note. The only real game that people remember from their time on the NES is Battletoads. So while they were on the world stage, they were just another player. So they took what money they made on the NES and invested it in high-end silicon graphics workstations. These were actually the same workstations that were used to create the CGI effects, most famously in Jurassic Park, as you see here. Rare wanted to find a way to get these graphics onto the 16-bit Super Nintendo, which, look at the T-Rex there. Does that sound possible? But they found a way. So they took their new technology and they worked up a boxing simulator to show it off to the higher-ups at Nintendo. And the Nintendo execs were so blown away by the graphics that they actually started searching the room for a high-end PC because they just couldn't believe that the SNES was capable of running such graphics. When they realized what Rare had actually achieved, they immediately moved to purchase a 49% stake in the company, which made Rare a second-party developer. So while they were still independent, they would only be making games for the SNES. They would also be making them on Nintendo's dime. It also meant that they would be given access to a list of lesser franchises from Nintendo. And guess who so happened to be on the list? None other than Donkey Kong himself. So Donkey Kong Country would enter development, and it was preceded by a massive marketing campaign, commercials, magazine ads, even a promotional VHS tape. And when the game came out, it was an enormous hit. It was so big, in fact, that it actually started to move hardware for Nintendo, which was a really big deal because the SNES was basically on the decline. Nintendo thought that they were going to have to put out some kind of add-on to keep interest in it. But then this little company from Europe comes along and shows that they don't need to do that. They just needed to tap into more of what the console could do. So Donkey Kong Country would be big in its day, but this day and age, people are starting to sing a different tune about Donkey Kong Country. A lot of people tend to say that this is one of the most overrated video games of all time now. So, and even Shigeru Miyamoto has his issues with it. But there's still plenty of people who love this game, myself included. Like, this was one of my brother's favorites back in the day. And as you said, Steffi, you really enjoyed the hell out of it too. So, yeah, one hell of a story for a game this old, isn't it?
Really is. I never knew that Rareware started so small and just all the cards just happen to be in their favor.
Yeah, it really is something. And getting right into the graphics here, this must have been mind-blowing for people back in the day. The detail, the animations, it's completely unbelievable. So
I know it was mind-blowing for me.
Okay, so first we're going to talk about the controls. So movement feels alright. The jumping doesn't have a terribly good weight to it, but it's not that bad. And you can roll as an attack, and if you hold that button, he'll start running, which will also make you jump a little bit further. One thing I hate, though, is that, like, the rolling and the running is mapped to the same button. I don't know why you can't have running mapped to the R button. But it's not that big a deal, and the game still plays pretty well, all things considered, so not bad. But what's the story of the game? No,
No!
not the bananas! Them gators are gonna pay! Alright, so, yeah, so the Kremlins have come to DK's Islands and have stolen the banana horde, so now we gotta go get them. So, pretty basic story, but there are some things I like about it. For starters, I like that it doesn't necessarily make DK a hero. He's more just a guy defending his home turf rather than fighting some evil villain. And,
he just wants his food supply back, man.
Yeah, he just wants his food supply back. So, I think it's still true to his character. This was also the first game to introduce his famous sidekick Diddy, who in himself has become an iconic character. And it also introduced the world to the Kremlins, DK's most famous adversary. So, already the game is pretty iconic, all things considered. And,
yeah, so before this, the only, like, enemies that Donkey Kong had were pretty much Mario, right?
Yeah, and Rare probably did that because Miyamoto didn't want Mario playing the villain again.
Yeah, which is totally understandable.
So now let's talk about the graphics, which were definitely a big game changer for Donkey Kong Country. This was one of the first games to use what are called pre-rendered graphics. So how Rare was able to achieve these was they rendered 3D models and animations, just as they would if they were going to make the special effects in Jurassic Park. And then they wrote a program that would slowly compress the 3D images into 2D sprite layers. Because of the Super Nintendo's robust number of colors, it allowed for more detailed sprites than ever before. And with the animations already cooked in, it was just an unprecedented level of detail. It really became popular after Donkey Kong Country came out with games like, what was it? Super Mario RPG using the same technology, and even Toy Story. And because of that, a lot of people tend to wonder if the pre-rendered graphics actually hold up. But in the case of DKC, I would argue that they do hold up because the art design is so nice. Like, the backgrounds are great, the animations are fun, the character models are well designed. And yeah, it's just a really good looking game, I would say. What do you think, Steffi?
I completely agree. And I do like that they remade Donkey Kong, well, essentially remade it for Returns with 3D graphics. But the original, like, still holds up. Like, this is still really pretty to look at. And a lot of issues that we have with older games like this is that playing them on newer TVs, like, everything just gets too blurry. It's hard to tell, like, what's happening, like, differentiating your characters from the background. And even playing Donkey Kong Country on a flat screen TV, I don't have that issue. It's awesome.
Yeah, and of course, you can't talk about Donkey Kong without mentioning the amazing soundtrack. Like, DKC.
Oh my god, yes.
DKC definitely has one of the best video game soundtracks of all time. It was so good, in fact, that at the time they actually re-released it on CD, which was a big deal. So one of the big gameplay features of DKC is the fact that you can switch back and forth between Diddy and Donkey Kong. And the characters actually have different attributes. Diddy is faster and he can jump higher, whereas Donkey Kong is stronger and can take out tougher enemies. So there's a nice balance between them, but most people I know prefer to play as Diddy because of his nimbleness and quickness. Which makes sense, but all the levels are designed so that you can play as both either Diddy or DK, which is a good thing because this game, the two characters in essence amount to a health bar. They can only take one hit, and, you know, if you die with only one Kong, then you have to go back to the start of a level.
Yeah, I actually didn't remember about Diddy being faster, but now that you mention it, I do recall that I would prefer to play as Diddy Kong when I was a kid.
Lois says you got this, Steffi.
Thank you, Lois.
Yeah, and talking about a great soundtrack, like, this has always been the standout track for me in Donkey Kong Country, Aquatic Ambience. This piece is just so beautiful.
Oh.
In fact, oh, my turn.
Yep.
It's okay, Steffi, I got this.
I'll be back.
But yeah, what a great song, huh?
The soundtrack for this game is awesome. Like, sometimes I play the OST from this game just as background music when I'm crafting or doing various things.
Especially Aquatic Ambience here. This is just such a beautiful piece of music. I think the music was done by Grant Kirkhope, and like the way he balances creating an atmosphere with these upbeat jazzy pieces is just a thing of beauty.
I'm always impressed by people that write music for video games. Like, they just know exactly, like, oh yeah, water level. This is what you need. And then it just gets that vibe perfectly.
Like, in general, I think the challenge in Donkey Kong Country is relatively fair. But I'm not a big fan of the barrel blast sections like that, because more often than not, whether or not you can get through it comes down to timing. Like, it just seems like a very cheap way to throw instant death into the game. And because Donkey Kong Country still uses lives and manual save points in the game, it can be a little frustrating to all of a sudden just die because you mistimed something with the barrel blast sections.
So I have to disagree there, because the barrel blast sections are actually one of my favorite parts of this game, and I'm totally biased because I'm very good at them. But that's why I love them.
Now it's a boss.
Time.
Stupid beaver! What does a beaver want with bananas?
Well, that was fast.
Yeah, the boss fights are a little lame in this game. They're just giant versions of the standard enemies, and yeah, it's just not that cool.
And we got a giant Nintendo banana.
Now we're getting into some mine levels. That is something else I really like about Donkey Kong Country. They really do come up with some cool and unique level themes for them. Like, instead of just the basic jungle, ice, lava level or something like that, they actually come up with some really cool level themes, like mines, crystal caves, swamps, factories. Like, just a lot of creativity there, I would say.
I enjoy it a lot. You know, I said I'm terrible at the minecart levels, but maybe it's just that the minecart levels are unfair.
They are a little unfair. It's a lot of one-hit kill bullshit that I get tired of in old school games.
Yeah.
That's why I like playing it with the rewind function, because you can just try again immediately. Instead of having to, you know, get worn out playing the same section again and again.
Let me out!
Oh, that was close.
Oh, I hear me, but I don't see me. Oh, no!
Oh!
Wow! Wow! Oh, go, 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 go! Yeah! We did it!
All right, Steffi, we're at the hour mark, so let's go ahead and call it. So, what do you
Yeah.
think of Donkey Kong Country having revisited it?
It's still a super fun game, and I'm again so glad that I got to be part of the stream. I love this game, and it's been a while since I've played like classic Donkey Kong Country. So I'm happy I got to revisit it.
Yeah, I'm
Checkers is happy too.
is that why that must have been why you went dead there for a second? Yeah, so Donkey Kong Country, like I've never subscribed to the mindset that it doesn't hold up. I mean, like some of the difficulty is BS, that's for sure. But with modern emulation, you can just use save states and the rewind function, and you do that, you can alleviate a lot of that BS, and you'll find a very enjoyable platformer. The graphics still hold up very well. There's a lot of character. The soundtrack is awesome. The level design is great. It's just a really fun 2D platformer. Uh, we'll eventually be looking at the other games in the Donkey Kong Country series, Steffi. So if you would like to join me for those, you're more than welcome to do so.
All right, sounds good.